The Athletic Gamer back, and I cannot believe what has just happened. Welcome if you're new to my channel, but I just want to share something with you. For this video I wrote like a 2-page script, and I had a lot of things to say, and I was going to put some real big effort into this, which I'm still going to try and do. But I was trying to hide the fact that I had a script and all that. But basically I recorded it all, I got through everything without any hitches, went and looked on my phone, turns out I wasn't recording. Brilliant. So I'm going to get straight into this. As you know, or maybe you don't know, but 2015 is the year of the N64 collection for me. I'm trying to finish off my collection. I'm not doing a full set, I'm just getting the games that I really want to play and the games I really want to keep. One of the games that I recently crossed off on my list was Perfect Dark. When I decided I wanted to make a video on Perfect Dark, I didn't want it to be just a run-of-the-mill gameplay or pickup video. I thought a game that pushed the N64 as hard as Perfect Dark did deserved to have more time and effort placed upon it for my video. So what I decided to do was make a history of the making of Perfect Dark. Now, when I looked into doing this, it turned out that was going to be way too much effort for me to put in. So what I decided to do instead was make a broader history of Rare, the development company, and with my sort of childhood memories scattered in there, and I hope it's going to be an interesting video. So yeah, let's get on and take a quick look at the brief history of Rare up until the end of the N64 era. So after that, they didn't really do much anyway, did they? So way back in the mid-80s, brothers Chris and Tim Stamper founded a company called Ultimate, or Ultimate Play the Game. Now, they started off developing games for home computers such as the ZX Spectrum, but were really keen to move into developing for the far superior Nintendo Entertainment System, or NES, as we all know it. And that's exactly what they did. And they developed over 40 games for the console, including some real good classics such as Snake Rattle and Roll, Battletoads, Captain Skyhawk, and a great little racer called RC Pro-Am. Highly recommend that one. Now, soon after Nintendo unleashed plans of this super powerhouse called the Super Nintendo Entertainment System, Rare decided to put their considerable profits into buying out a company called Silicon Graphics Incorporated, or SGI for short. Now, this purchase would make Rare a powerhouse when it came to developing games, not just in the UK, but within the whole world. With this new tech acquired from SGI, Rare impressed Nintendo enough for Nintendo to buy into the company. And in 1994, Rare became a second-party developer for Nintendo, with Nintendo owning 49% of the company and Rare owning the other 51%. This is what many refer to as Rare's golden age. They would soon go on to release the smash hit for the SNES, Donkey Kong Country. This turned out to be the second biggest selling SNES game of all time, selling well over 8 million units. It also spawned 2 sequels and a few handheld games. Now, during this time, Rare also developed an extremely popular fighting game. This game used the similar 3D models that were seen in Donkey Kong Country. The thing that really held this above other 3D model fighting games at that time was that this ran super smoothly. The only other fighting games that ran that smoothly on a SNES at this time were still using the traditional 2D sprites. The game I'm of course talking about is Killer Instinct. It's after this that we move into the N64 era. And not long after the release of the N64, Rare pumped out a good version of Killer Instinct for the system. It wasn't until the following year when Rare really came to grips with the console. In 1997, they released the hugely fun, creative, and unique video game Glass Corps. This game probably deserves its own video. It is so unique and wacky and fun that I really need to feature it in the future. It was this same year that Rare would go on to release probably its most well-known game, and it's the game that would spawn Perfect Dark, which of course is the reason we're making this video. That game, of course, GoldenEye 007. Oddly enough, one of the few movie tie-in games that came out several years after the movie. And what can I say about GoldenEye that hasn't already been said? I'm not sure really, probably not much. However, I will say that this game alone was the whole reason I ended up getting an N64. I can vividly remember going to Toys R Us, picking up GoldenEye as a console box set for just £99. It was a great Christmas. Thank God I chose that over the Scalextrics I almost bought. I was so tempted to buy that Scalextrics. I don't know what I was thinking. Now we move on to the end of '97 and Rare released another smash hit, another fantastic game. And this game turned out to be Diddy Kong Racing. To me, the best racing game on the N64. One of the best racing games of all time. That's right, better than all the Mario Karts. Not only did it have extremely fun karting, but it had fantastic planes as vehicles. And slightly frustrating, but still incredibly fun hovercraft racing as well. Not to skim over multiplayer as a mode, but the main appeal of this game was the humongous adventure mode. You could spend hours in this game and only really skim the surface. It was so unique, I don't remember any other racing games that were like this, other than Crash Team Racing, which you can tell took inspiration from Diddy Kong. I will also mention that this was the first time we saw another great Rare creation, that being the lovable little squirrel known as Conker, but we'll save him for a bit later. Now, 1998 rolled on and we got possibly the best platforming game on the N64, the fantastic Banjo-Kazooie. Now, I don't want to say too much about this game because I am actually after the sequel to cross off of my list. And when I pick up the sequel, I may possibly come back and revisit this game for a video. Or I may not. Now, we're moving on to 1999, and Rare put out two games which were slightly misfires for me. The first being Jet Force Gemini. This was Rare trying to do something different, something new, in which we had a third-person sci-fi shooter. It feels somewhat limited by the console, somewhat limited by the level design and gameplay mechanics. It does, however, feature some of the best music in gaming of all time. Just listen. So atmospheric. Then we had DK64, which I don't own and I don't want to own. DK64 is another collectathon, similar to Banjo-Kazooie, but where Banjo-Kazooie got the balance right, DK64 went way overboard, and it really becomes a grind. However, it is worth noting here that this is the first game on the system that needed the expansion pack. That pack that I'm too lazy to pull out of my console that's sat over there. Now, Rare and Nintendo were very sneaky with the advertising of this game. They went around running ads and telling people that the game was too big to fit on the standard N64 and that you needed that expansion cart to play the game. Turns out that that was a load of lies. You did need the expansion pack to play the game, but it wasn't because the game was too big. It was because the game would randomly crash, a bug that couldn't be fixed by Rare in its development. Now, this would mean that Rare and Nintendo would have to bundle the expansion pack with the game, and would have cost both companies quite the penny back in the day. However, it probably turned out alright for both of them, because later on Perfect Dark and Majora's Mask would go on to need that expansion port, and both of those games sold extremely well. Now comes the meat of why I made this video. The year was 2000. Rare were about to release the spiritual successor to GoldenEye, a game that actually started its development to be a sequel to GoldenEye, but I assume for licensing reasons they had to scrap that idea. So the game, of course, I'm talking about is Perfect Dark. And this turned out to be as much of a 180 turn from GoldenEye as you can get while still being a first-person shooter. Set in the future, you are now a female Joanna Dark. She's amidst an interstellar war between two races. I won't go into the plot here too much, but it does allow you to use some high-tech gadgets and weaponry, including flying cars. And there's even a hovering laptop with a homosexual inside.
Very professionally done, my dear. But there's no time to waste.
How unique.
Immediately.
Oh yeah, and not to mention Elvis. No, not the king of rock and roll. Elvis, the alien. Now in all honesty, I could never get on with this game as a kid. First off, I could only borrow it from a friend, because I couldn't afford a 50 quid game plus another 30 or 40 quid on top for the expansion pack, as I had no interest in buying DK64. So when I did manage to borrow this game from a friend, he wouldn't let me use his expansion pack. I'm not sure why, but he just didn't. This limits the game tremendously, meaning I couldn't play the single player campaign, I couldn't play the co-op or counter-op modes, and it pretty much renders the multiplayer game unenjoyable. All I could do is run around solo mode with a couple of bots, a limited number of weapons, and an even smaller number of maps. It's no wonder I didn't get on with it. Going back now that I have the game and I have the expansion pack, I'm loving it. I think that it's aged a lot better than GoldenEye. It's really underrated. Yes, there are some frame rate issues here and there, but it's nothing major. The story runs along really smoothly. You meet a lot of unique characters, including a black president, way before Barack Obama. And yeah, the game really zips along with unique gameplay mechanics and different objectives to fill out. Oh, and I did mention there's an alien called Elvis, right? I also want to point out that for the time there was some fantastic voice acting and some even more impressive cutscenes that we didn't really see on home consoles at the time. All in all, it's a really lovely N64 game that's still extremely cheap. I highly recommend, if you have an N64, to go out and buy this game right now. Now, following this game's release, we moved on to Mickey's Racing Adventure, which for me, I am a huge cartoon fan, and I'm an even bigger Disney fan. I was eagerly awaiting this game, especially after I loved Diddy Kong Racing so much. How could they get this wrong? They did. It's a stinker. It really feels like a cash grab. Rare's heart really weren't into it, and it feels like Nintendo probably made them make this game for the licensing. While the racing is decent, but not as good as Diddy Kong, that can be overlooked. But what can't be overlooked is the extreme lack of use of the license. You have Mickey in the title. They could have used all of the Disney properties, but they just didn't. There is no life to this game whatsoever. It's such a shame. Such a waste. Now after Mickey, they released two fantastic games. The first being Banjo-Tooie. And as I said earlier, I'm on the hunt for this, so I will talk about it, hopefully, in the future. The other game involving another character I talked about, Conker's Bad Fur Day. Another game that if I get at a reasonable price, I will be featuring in one of these videos. So you'll just have to wait until then. And that was the end of the N64's run. And that's about all I have to say about Rare. Because soon after, Microsoft bought them out and we all know what happened. Sure, they released a few good games. Viva Pinata was pretty good, right? But there was a lot of stinkers. Kinect Sports, Banjo, Nuts and Bolts. I actually really like this game. I highly recommend everyone give it a chance. So with this being the end of the video, it's pretty sad to say that Rare is dead. And they aren't coming back despite what you might read on the internet. You see, the majority of people that used to work for Rare have since moved on, I'm sad to say. Well, there you go guys, I got through the video in the end, despite filming this twice. I'm very annoyed about that still. I hope you enjoyed it, and I don't often say this, but I did put a lot of effort into this video. So please, if you enjoyed it, share it around a little bit maybe. Put it on Twitter or something. I don't know. I'd very much appreciate it. And hey, if you didn't like the video, leave a comment down below saying you didn't like the video or that I was talking a load of rubbish. I don't mind. Any comments are welcome here. So anyway, cheers guys, not going to ramble on. The Athletic Gamer out.
Available for your home in 1995, only on Nintendo Ultra 64.